Welcome to my very first offseason rebuild here on Madden 23. We are obviously at the end of the year. The Chiefs have just won the Super Bowl, and now we're going to rebuild the Las Vegas Raiders in hopefully 3 seasons. But first things first, because they did do this in real life, we are going to cut quarterback Derek Carr. It is going to incur us a penalty of $11.3 million, but it's realistic because that's what the Raiders just did. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think the Raiders have too much of a dead cap hit for this season because he was going to be guaranteed like $40 million if they didn't cut him in time. So they cut him like right after the Super Bowl, but either way, this is the only time I could really cut him in this game. For the first season, I will be using a custom draft class that someone has made and uploaded to Madden 23, and obviously, as you can tell from the top 5 guys, it is this upcoming draft. And now looking into the actual rebuild part of this video, obviously we will need a quarterback. A few linemen are pretty low rated. Josh Jacobs is probably going to be gone. And past Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow, I don't really like the receivers. The best one would be Mac Hollins, who's only a 73. And on the defensive side of the ball, there's a few pieces, obviously, that we're going to need. Probably an entirely new defensive line. Chandler Jones is pretty old, but still 79 overall, so I still feel like he's a little serviceable, but we'll probably look for a replacement somewhere. And then cornerbacks, our best one is a 79 overall and a 78 overall, not exactly great. And here, let's check out the first mock draft to see where everyone is expected to go. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are expected to go 1 and 2. I don't really agree with the Bears taking a quarterback, but there's apparently rumors they may do that. Will Anderson at 3, Will Levis at 4, Jalen Carter at 5, Christian Gonzalez at 6, and then Myles Murphy at 7. Honestly, not a bad pick for us, I don't feel like. But I would like to get a quarterback, but Anthony Richardson's the only one left in this mock. And here we have 33 players ready to negotiate their contracts. We do have $100 million in cap space, but we'll see how many of these guys we're actually going to bring back. And let's just take a look at the top free agents here possibly. Josh Jacobs has no interest in coming back. Denzel Perriman has no interest in coming back. Neither does Rock Ya-Sin or Deron Harmon. Anthony Everett does want to come back. Mac Hollins doesn't want to return. Foster Moreau has some interest. Jayon Brown, and it looks like we're going to be replacing a lot of this roster, honestly. We're going to try to bring back Anthony Everett on a 1-year prove-it deal, and he is happy to sign and continue to play for this great organization. And this is going to sound a little insane, but that's the only one I'm going to bring back. Everyone else is going to get to walk just because they're either not that great, or they have very low interest, or I think we can find someone better. And so out of signing only one player out of that whole group, we have $96.3 million in cap space, so let's see who we can try to get. The first thing I want to look at is quarterbacks, and there are really no great ones available. Geno Smith is here coming off a really good season, but has no interest in coming to Las Vegas. Jimmy Garoppolo has a little bit of interest. Daniel Jones, Jacoby Brissett, Derek Carr wants to come back, but we're not going to do that. We're going to let him go sign somewhere else, just because obviously I don't think he's going back to the Raiders on a cheaper deal. And I don't think I'm going to offer one to a running back right now, but Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, and Kareem Hunt all have no interest in coming to Las Vegas, but David Montgomery is here. Currently, there are no teams interested in him. I'm not a huge fan of paying running backs big contracts. Let's see what kind of contract he even wants. He wants a 5-year contract. That is a really, really long contract when I think we could probably grab someone in the draft. And now looking through receivers, there is almost nobody that wants to come here. Looks like Sterling Shepard has a bit of interest. Kendrick Bourne has some interest. Paris Campbell also has some interest. Aguilar doesn't want to return here. And there's DJ Chark, who was actually a scheme fit. And after looking through the rest of the free agents here, we're going to offer a contract to Jonathan Jones, DJ Chark, Chris Wormley, Matthew, I can never pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try it, and Jacoby Brissett. Let's see if any of these guys take these contracts offer. Wormley and Brissett have not taken their offers, but we do get Jonathan Jones, DJ Chark, and that guy. Once again, not going to try to say his last name. And now here for the second stage of this free agency, we have Rock Ya-Sin, Chris Wormley, Rudy Ford, and I pulled out of the contract negotiations with Jacoby Brissett. We're going to try to bring in Sam Darnold. I don't anticipate to have to start him. No one is here anymore. Did they all sign? It looks like we got Wormley, we got Ford, and we got Darnold. It looks like we lost out on... I don't even remember his name. There it is, Rock Ya-Sin. We lost out on him to the Bears. And before we get too much farther into this, I did change the Raiders from a 3-4 defensive scheme to a 4-3, so I put Max Crosby at defensive end instead of outside linebacker. And here we are officially at the NFL draft. The Chicago Bears have the #1 pick, and it said in the mock draft that they are expected to take Bryce Young. Let's see if they actually do it here. And the Bears will take Bryce Young out of Alabama, even though they still have Justin Fields on the roster. And Justin Fields does still have the player tag of QB of the future, so I don't know why the AI is still taking a quarterback. But now let's see what the Houston Texans are going to do here at pick 2. They will take CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. The Cardinals at pick 3 are going to take Will Levis. So they're moving on from Kyler Murray. That is actually a little bit shocking. The Colts at pick 4 will take Will Anderson. He falls all the way to number 4. I think the Colts would probably be ecstatic, except for the fact that they want a quarterback, I believe. And at pick 5, Seattle is going to take Jalen Carter out of Georgia. And here at pick 6, right before our pick, the Detroit Lions will end up taking Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. And because all 3 quarterbacks went in the first 3 draft picks, I did not want to trade up and get one. We're actually going to trade back with the Eagles, who are looking to move up to 7. We're going to get pick 10, a 2nd round pick, and a 7th round pick in this draft. Personally, I don't think the Eagles will actually trade up in the draft. I am an Eagles fan if you did not know that. But let's see who they take with pick 7. They traded up to take Myles Murphy. That actually kind of seems like a Howie Roseman move. At pick 8, the Falcons will take a tight end because that's completely realistic. And then at pick 9, the Carolina Panthers will take Brian Brees out of Clemson. I don't know how popular this pick is going to be here, but at pick 10, I'm going to take what I believe to be the best tackle left in the draft, Paris Johnson Jr., and we're going to take him. He will come in with a normal depth trait, not what I wanted to see. But I didn't want to take Anthony Richardson. It showed his awareness was C to D, which kind of scares me, especially in simulation. And I didn't think any of those other positions were worth taking, at least for our positions of need. So now we can just jump to the next pick in the draft here and see who we will get in the 2nd round. And we have made a trade. I'm going to get our quarterback anyway. I sent the 2 2nd round picks we have to the Bears and a 2nd round pick for next year for quarterback Justin Fields. And now with the 7th pick here in the 3rd round, I'm going to take outside linebacker Nick Herbig out of Wisconsin. And he will come in with a normal depth trait as well. Now this is a user-generated draft class, so sometimes trying to find the guys that have hidden depth traits is a little more difficult, but I still feel like he's going to be solid for us. And now I'm advancing to the end of the draft. If you've never seen my rebuild videos, I only pick the first 3 rounds and then I let the computer pick the rest of them. Well, I completely lied about Nick Herbig. He is only a 68 overall, so he will not be much help to us. But Paris Johnson is a 77 overall right tackle, and we got Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. I am a Sooners fan if you did not know that. And Marvin Mims comes in as a 71 overall with a normal depth trait. And now looking over the rest of the class, we got a 66 overall defensive tackle, a 62 overall tight end, 65 overall safety, a 65 overall corner, a 66 overall receiver, and a 61 overall safety. And this might be why they decided to move on from Justin Fields. Bryce Young is an 82 overall quarterback in this draft class. But obviously the big takeaway from that draft class was us trading for quarterback Justin Fields. That was not my plan going into the draft, but then seeing the Bears take a quarterback, I felt like it would be a little bit more realistic if they traded away Fields. And it looks like running back Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State actually went undrafted. We're going to bring him in because we don't have that great of a running back. I'm probably going to sign at least one more, but I really want to bring in Deuce Vaughn. But I think our running back this year is going to be free agent running back Dante Foreman. And it is finally time to simulate season 1 of this rebuild here with new quarterback Justin Fields. Obviously, we have guys like Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. We signed Dante Foreman. We also brought in guys like DJ Chark to kind of help out Fields. I am sorry for Justin Fields, though, because you're still playing behind a not great offensive line. And on the defensive side of the ball, I did not get near as much help as I planned to, but we still have Max Crosby, and he's going to have to carry this defense hardcore the entire season, most likely. But we are now simulating to the end of Season 1. We will see how bad this team actually is. If we make the playoffs, I will be completely shocked. And in the first season of this rebuild, we finished 6-11. We have the number 25 offensive points per game and the number 31 defense. So yeah, we were not good, kind of as I expected. Justin Fields throws for a ton of yards, 4,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Doesn't really run the ball a whole lot because Madden simulation is awesome, but Dante Foreman, 188 carries for 600 yards and 10 touchdowns. And receiving by far our best receiver, Devontae Adams, 100 catches, 1,300 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And Divine Diablo leads the team in tackles with 153. That may lead the league. In sacks, Max Crosby got 24.5. He tried to carry the entire defense. And then leading the team in picks is Jonathan Jones, who got 3. Apparently in this universe, Tom Brady does not retire, comes back to throw 5,600 yards and 43 touchdowns. Joe Burrow leads the league in touchdown passes with 45. Interceptions goes to Mac Jones with 23 of them. On the ground, Derrick Henry runs for 1,600 yards, almost 1,700. and Saquon Barkley runs for 20 touchdowns. And then over at receiving, Cooper Kupp 121 catches, 2,000 yards, and 21 touchdowns will all lead the league. And the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl this year, 30-24 over the Packers. NFL MVP goes to Joe Burrow, Coach of the Year goes to Zach Taylor, Offensive Player of the Year goes to Cooper Kupp, Defensive Player of the Year does go to Max Crosby, that's good for us. Kind of hurts to see Offensive Rookie of the Year as Anthony Richardson since we passed on him, but I still feel like Fields played okay. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year is Will Anderson. And this offseason, we have 13 players ready to negotiate their contracts, but we have $130 million in cap. And looking through this list, none of these guys are very big names. I think we're going to let all of them walk. I would bring back Deuce Vaughn, but he has like no interest in coming back here for whatever reason. So yeah, we're just going to let all of these guys walk and head to free agency with $130 million. But before we head over to free agency, I want to look at Justin Fields here. He was a 78 overall, now he's 79 overall. He still has a star dev trait though. And now looking at free agents, there are definitely some big names here. Lamar Jackson, Rashawn Gary, Justin Herbert, Tremaine Edmonds, Antoine Winfield. Gabe Davis is actually interested in coming to play for us. And after the first stage, Akeem Davis-Gaither is the only player that did not sign with us, but we land Gabe Davis, Cam Akers, Zach Seiler, and Fletcher Cox. And the only player I have added here in the second stage is Josh Weil. I hope I said his name right. He's 6'6", 70 overall, only 24 years old, and he's a scheme fit, so I think he might be able to develop a little bit behind our tight end. Gaither still hasn't signed, but we do get Josh Weil. So now let's just go back over here, and we will up this offer for Gaither a little bit. I'm not going to up it too much, just because I honestly don't know if he'll even be the starter. But we'll offer him this contract, and he still has not signed. So now we get to advance to stage 2. Alright, it took a few tries, but we do finally land him. So this will be our free agent class for this season. I completely forgot about this during the last free agency, but we'll go ahead and take a look at the free agency recap this season. Tua is headed to Minnesota, Justin Herbert is headed to Detroit, and Lamar Jackson has signed with the Bears. So they draft Justin Fields. They then take a quarterback #1 overall the next year, trade Justin Fields, and now they've signed Lamar Jackson. I wonder how much it influences the Bears to sign Lamar Jackson, because they probably had like the most cap space in the league or something. Obviously that gives them a huge advantage in getting a quarterback like that. But now Bryce Young, who came in as an 82 overall, will be a backup quarterback, which is absolutely insane. But let's just go ahead and move on to the next draft, where the New England Patriots will pick 1. Now this is an auto-generated draft class, so let's see who they take with the first pick in the draft. They are going to take outside linebacker Allen Pearson out of Stanford. Who are the Cardinals going to take with pick 2 in the draft? They will take outside linebacker Jamie Rivers out of Arizona State. At pick 3, the Seahawks will take Terry Green out of Boston College. The Bears at pick 4 will take right outside linebacker David Wilkins out of Georgia. Apparently this was linebacker heavy here. And with pick 5, the Houston Texans will take a left tackle Sam Boss out of Notre Dame. And because we don't have a second round pick in this draft, I did trade it away to Chicago last year, obviously. We're going to take this trade with Minnesota, pick up pick number 13 in the draft, and a second round pick. And now let's see who the Vikings are going to take with the 6th pick of the draft. They take Morgan Bowens out of Alabama. Obviously, I was not going to take a receiver. The Steelers at pick 7 will take a defensive tackle. I was looking at him, but he didn't look like he was worth the 6th overall pick to me. The Falcons take a quarterback out of Maryland. The Saints will take a defensive end out of LSU. The Lions with pick 10, after getting Justin Herbert in free agency, will take a right tackle to keep him standing. At pick 11, the Rams will take a corner out of Ohio State. Honestly, that was a corner I was looking at. He was projected in the top 5, but I didn't. Every time I see a player projected in the top 5 and he falls out of the top 5, most of the time if I take him, he's a complete and total bust. Now at pick 12, the Indianapolis Colts will take middle linebacker Telvin Martin out of Kansas State. And now with the 13th pick in the draft, I'm going to take defensive tackle DJ Mason out of Georgia, and he will come in as a normal dev trait. I am drafting horribly. Honestly, if anything absolutely kills this rebuild, it's going to be the fact that I am drafting terribly here. But let's go ahead here in the second round, take center Mark Roby, and he will have a hidden dev trait, thankfully. And now here in the third round, I'm going to take left guard Sam Ellis out of Georgia. He does have A impact blocking, one of the only things I really know about him. He is one of the stronger guards in the class, and he will come in with a hidden dev trait as well. Alright, we did not have a horrible draft class. DJ Mason's a 73 overall. It sucks that he's a normal depth trait though. Mark Roby's a 72 overall center with a hidden depth trait. Sam Ellis is a 73 overall guard with a hidden depth trait. We got a 73 overall corner in the 4th round of the draft thanks to the computer, a 68 overall middle linebacker, a 67 overall right guard, a 66 overall free safety, and a 69 overall corner. So do y'all remember whenever I pointed out the corner that the Rams took at 11 I looked at but then decided to pass on? Well, yeah, he's an 80 overall. That would immediately make him the best corner on our team. And now we're getting ready to simulate Season 2. Obviously, we still have Justin Fields here at quarterback. We have added Gabe Davis at wide receiver, and then we drafted Roby and Ellis for the offensive line. And I'm not real sure how much better or worse the defense even got here. Once again, we're going to be heavily carried by Max Crosby. We went 6-11 last year. I believe we were the number 25 offensive points per game and the number 31 defense. I could be wrong on those numbers, but let's see if we can get any better this year. We actually ended up performing a lot better than I thought we would. We finished 10-7, third in our division, but we get into the playoffs as a wild card. And Justin Fields comes out and throws for 5,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. Running the ball, Cam Akers ran for 800 yards and 10 touchdowns, and receiving, Devontae Adams, 98 receptions, 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. Gabe Davis goes over 1,000 yards, Darren Waller goes over 1,000 yards, and Hunter Renfrow goes over 1,000 yards. And then over on defense, Divine Diablo once again leading the team in tackles, this time with 114. In sacks, Max Crosby got 16.5, but Nick Herbig got 9.5. That's actually pretty solid. He was, I believe, our first round pick a couple years ago. And then Fletcher Cox got 9 sacks. And interceptions, Jonathan Jones once again led the team, or at least led the team this time with 4. And Tom Brady still has not retired. 5,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Jacoby Brissett is playing in Washington. Let's see who did the best running the ball. That'd be Derrick Henry with 1,800 yards. And in touchdowns, it's Josh Jacobs with 21. So he seems to be doing pretty good since he left Las Vegas. And then for receptions, that goes to Chris Godwin with 121. Yards goes to Stephon Diggs with almost 1,700. And touchdowns goes to Godwin with 17. And we actually managed to win our first playoff game 31-28. But sadly, after knocking off the 2 seed, you have to travel to play the 1 seed, which happened to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and we lose 35-17. And now heading to the offseason, the Washington Commanders, led by Jacoby Brissett, have taken down the Houston Texans, led by CJ Stroud, 24-21. Josh Allen wins NFL MVP. Lovie Smith for the Texans is Coach of the Year. Chris Godwin is Offensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt is Defensive Player of the Year. Silas Westbrook is Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Cowboys, and David Wilkins is Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Bears. And for the second year in a row, we only have 13 players ready to negotiate their contracts, but we have $100 million in cap space yet again. I already went through and signed some of the people that I want to keep here, which is why we're down to $86 million in cap space. I am going to let Hunter Renfrow hit free agency. He's not a scheme fit. He's 82 overall. I want to see if there's anyone in free agency that is a scheme fit that we can plug into this offense, because next season will be Super Bowl or bust, obviously, because I said I was only going to do 3 seasons. Nate Hobbs has no interest in coming back. DJ Chark is a scheme fit, but he's 28 years old, 78 overall. We're going to see if there's anyone younger in free agency. Fletcher Cox is just old. Rudy Ford's not that good. Sam Darnold's down to a 69 overall. And then, yeah, the rest of these guys are all going to be free agents. And now as we get ready for the final free agency period, Justin Fields is still a 79 overall, so he doesn't get any better from last year. He currently has +2 to morale, so he has an 81 overall, but he still played pretty well last year. And there are some massive names yet again in free agency. Jalen Waddle, Jalen Hurts, Jeffrey Simmons, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondell Moore, La'el Collins, and some of these guys actually have interest in us, including guys like Jalen Hurts and Jalen Waddle. In this final free agency, I'm attempting to go all out. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, defensive tackle Grover Stewart, defensive back Rasul Douglas, free safety Quandre Diggs, and defensive back Mike Hilton. These 4 guys should really actually help out our defense a lot. Let's see if any of them want to sign here though. So after the first stage, we do manage to land all 5 of them. So I just wanted to see where Jalen Hurts ended up signing. He has signed with the Houston Texans. So even though CJ Stroud just got you to a Super Bowl appearance, you signed a quarterback in free agency. That's kind of messed up. And DeAndre Hopkins is headed to New England. Now these next 3 contract offers might be a little bit confusing, so let me explain them. Ramondre Stevenson was only like a 2-year contract with like $3 to $3.5 million a year, and he's going to be our backup running back. I'm okay paying a backup running back that much. Khalil Mack, just because he's an 80 overall and I think he can help out our defense. Same thing with Jadeveon Clowney. I doubt we get Khalil Mack, but let's go ahead and advance past this part and see if we get any of them. Clowney did not sign, but let's see. We did get Khalil Mack, but I don't think we got, no, there he is. Okay, there's Ramondre Stevenson. So I bumped up our offer for Khalil Mack a little bit. I honestly don't even know if he'll start, but hopefully it uses him in rotation a little bit. And let's see if Clowney has signed, and he has. So this will be our final free agent class. And now we are officially here at the next draft, so we'll see who the top 5 are. I think the last few drafts I've done all the way to my pick. We're just going to do the top 5. The Saints take Timmy Orr, quarterback out of Virginia Tech. The Seahawks at pick 2 will take a left end out of Colorado. The Colts with pick 3 take a right end out of Virginia. The Vikings with pick 4 will take a defensive tackle out of Washington. And the 49ers with pick 5 will take a left outside linebacker out of UCLA. And with our first round pick, I'm going to take left outside linebacker Juan Scott out of South Carolina. And he will come in as a hidden dev trade. I'm finally drafting a hidden dev trade in the first round. And now here at the end of the second round with pick 26, I'm going to take left guard Henry Lloyd out of LSU. And he will also come in with a hidden dev trade. And at the end of the third round, I'm going to take defensive back Donnell Newton out of South Carolina. And he will come in with a normal dev trade. I really wasn't expecting him to be a hidden dev trade at all. Alright, Newton was not a good pick, a 65 overall corner, but Juan Scott was a 75 overall, and Henry Lloyd was also a 75 overall. Then we got the 65 overall corner, a 65 overall tight end, a 64 overall receiver, 67 right outside linebacker, 65 tight end, and a 64 right tackle. And because we are going all in on this season, we're going to attempt to trade for defensive tackle Deron Payne. He's not a scheme fit, but he's an 87 overall defensive tackle. We're going to give them a first, a second, and a sixth round pick because this is the final season. I won't be doing any more drafts. And looking at the Packers roster here, they have Devondre Campbell, who's an 82, but Quay Walker has a trade target young player tag, so let me see if I can get him. And we're going to take this draft offer, a 2027 second round pick and a 2027 sixth round pick. So here's the final starting offense for this rebuild here. Obviously, if I could redo it, I would probably trade up and draft a quarterback. I thought I could turn Justin Fields into like an elite quarterback, but we're going to roll with him this season. He's got Devontae Adams, Gabe Davis, Jalen Waddle, Marvin Mims, Darren Waller, and then at running back, he's got Cam Akers and Ramondre Stevenson. And then I think we just helped out the defense a lot by trading for Deron Payne and Quay Walker. We are going to move Scott to be the starter here. I don't know if that'll actually stick once I start simulating, but that'll be on the game. But still, once again, Max Crosby, you are being expected to carry us, just not as hard this time. Like I just said, if I could redo it, I would probably get a different quarterback. I thought about making a play for Jalen Hurts during the offseason, but I've already done 2 seasons with Justin Fields. I figured why not just roll with the 3rd season? He got us to the playoffs. Let's see if he can get us even farther. And we seem to be a much better team this year. We finished 12-5, have the 5th offensive points per game and the 7th defense. We do not win the division though because Denver goes 12-5 as well, but we get in as a wild card again. And it looks like the division title came down to this game. This was week 18 and we lost 38-26. And Justin Fields comes in with the best season of his career, a little under 5,000 yards, 42 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. On the ground, Cam Akers ran for 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson ran in for 16 touchdowns. And receiving, Devontae Adams 1,200 yards and 15 scores. Jalen Waddle over 1,000 yards. Darren Waller over 1,000 yards. And Gabe Davis caught 12 touchdowns. Now about defense. Let's see how that went. Quay Walker leads the team in tackles with 125. Sacks goes to Max Crosby with 24. And interceptions, Akeem Davis-Gaither got 3 along with Jonathan Jones. And it looks like Tom Brady finally decided to retire. So Joe Burrow leads the league in passing yards with almost 5,500. He threw 50 touchdowns, which leads the league, and interceptions goes to Dom Serra, a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback, I don't remember, that went to Atlanta. What about running the ball? Is it still Derrick Henry at the top? No, it is Nick Chubb with 1,600. And in touchdowns, that goes to Najee Harris and Miles Sanders, who is now in New England. So New England ended up getting DeAndre Hopkins and Miles Sanders. That's one weird combination I never thought I'd say out loud. Chris Godwin leads the league in receptions with 138, 1,800 yards, also leads the league. But in touchdowns, that goes to Tyler Boyd, who caught 23 of them, and Tyreek Hill caught 18. And in the first round of the playoffs, we barely get a win here, 42-35 over the Titans. And in the next round, we go to Denver, who was the 1 seed, and beat them 40-17, so we are headed to the conference championship game. And in that game, we beat the Dolphins 24-17, so in our 3rd season here, we are headed to the Super Bowl. And in that game, we will be taking on the Green Bay Packers, who were the 3 seed, as they go 9-8. The NFC was apparently pretty weak on their side this year. And we cap off this rebuild with a Super Bowl win, 26-21 over the Green Bay Packers. Super Bowl MVP is quarterback Justin Fields, so I'm glad I didn't move on from him. The NFL MVP goes to Dak Prescott, Coach of the Year goes to Brian Daboll, Offensive Player of the Year is Tyler Boyd, Defensive Player of the Year is Max Crosby for, I believe, the 2nd time. Offensive Rookie of the Year is a wide receiver for Green Bay, and Defensive Rookie of the Year is a defensive tackle for the Vikings. And so that will wrap up this rebuild officially here. Justin Fields finishes as an 82 overall superstar depth trait and a Super Bowl champion. I honestly did not think we were going to be able to pull it off in the final season, but Justin Fields came through for us. I gave him a stacked receiving core, and he just got the job done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next time.